Unbounded, woman of success without limits. And today I am so excited. You guys all know that every month I have a guest. And my guests have been Latina authors because I belong to a Latina authors group. And all these women just always inspire me. So today I have a Latina author on the Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. But if you're watching me on the Coach MartiAngel YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss an episode. If you are listening to me wherever you listen to your favorite shows, make sure that you download the episode, listen to it, and then you can discard it. All right, everybody, let me just give you the intro. So, a ver cómo estamos aquí. Today's guest is a Latina author, advocate, survivor, whose story will move you. Her story will challenge you and, most importantly, will inspire you. Through her book, she opens up about her journey through generational trauma, childhood sexual abuse, teenage pregnancy, postpartum depression, and domestic violence. Rather than to let those experiences define her, she used them as fuel, leaning on therapy and her own resilience to heal and rise. Lizette is an amazing woman. Now her mission is clear: to empower other Latina and other women and other girls everywhere to overcome whatever adversity they face. Please take some time, put your hands together, and help me welcome Lizette Ramirez, author of Silent Lotus. Hola. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here.
Good. I'm so glad. And you know, you look so young, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she looks so young. She looks like she's 12. And that's a compliment. That's a compliment, okay?
Oh, definitely.
So let me just share. We're going to ask you some questions, and you know, but first, can you hold up your book for everybody to see?
Yes, of course. It's right here.
Yes, The Silent Lotus, a bloom no one saw coming, by Lizette Ramirez. You know, it's so important. Thank you so much. It's so important to really shine a light on the Latina authors because, you know, I heard the statistic that only 3% of the authors out there are Latinas. So we, you know, we have to hurry and empower some more Latinas, right?
I agree. Yes.
Right.
We need to grow our community. Yes, definitely.
Right. So because of that, I have my first question for you is, take us back to the beginning. What was the moment that you decided your story needed to be told? And what gave you the courage to share something so deeply personal?
I have always wanted to write a book, and I wanted to share my life, not with the whole world, but just with my 3 children. I wanted them to know what I had gone through, why I chose or took the decisions that I made during my lifetime. And I also wanted to write my experiences so that they also hopefully wouldn't make the same mistakes, or they could make better choices than I did. So it was never intentional for me to share it with the world. I was just going to write it and give it to my kids. Um, but then I started attending a parent book club within the school district that my children attend, and it's a Spanish book club. Right there, we started reading a lot of self-help books, and one of them was "Cómo hacer que te pasen cosas buenas" by 𝗬𝗢𝗄𝗡. Um, that book really helped me because I was for a long time living like in a victim mentality. So I was like attracting, I feel, a lot of negativity in my life. Uh, but with that book, it started opening my mind and it started, you know, making me think and outside the box. And after that, I continued in the book club and eventually we read Harvesting Dreams. And that is written by 𝗬𝗢𝗣𝗦𝗡, which is my mentor. And that is how I chose to share my story with the world.
Mm. Okay, so because so did that interaction, that book club, and then meeting Erica, because we all know Erica, was that the turning point that gave you the courage to write so deeply personal?
Yes, it was her story because in her book, she writes about domestic violence and teen pregnancy and her middle school, high school years. And it just started unblocking a lot of memories for me that I had blocked out. I was also a teen mom. I had my first child at 17, and just reading all of that unblocked a lot of memories and it made me go into my feelings. And then I was reading it out loud, and my kids are a bit chismosos and they want to know more and more. So I was reading out loud and they were listening. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, if they only knew that I have gone through the similar situations as she did. And so then that's where it clicked. I'm like, okay, it's time. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I'm going to write my book and I'm going to give it to them.
Good. That sounds great. Wow, that's amazing. So amazing. So you were reading her book to your children, right? And when it was it at that point in time when you were reading and you saw that they were interested, that also as you were reading it, you're watching their reaction, and maybe that's where the courage also kind of flew in?
Yes, I would say yes, definitely, because they were very interested and they wanted to keep going. And it was like 10 p.m. I'm like, we need to go to sleep. There's school tomorrow. They're like, keep going, one more chapter, please. And so it was very much like that. So I was reading ahead because I was
Mm,
staying up. But yeah, they were like, come on, read to us. And so, yes.
awesome. Okay, so you mentioned generational trauma as part of your journey. So, for the listeners who may not be familiar with that term, can you explain how you recognized it in your own life, and what breaking that cycle looked like for you?
Yes, I think for generational trauma, I saw a lot of like sexist roles in our families. Um, I want to say like the machista culture, very much thinking of that the woman belongs in the house and the man goes out to work. And I'm like, no, I'm driving, I'm going to work, and I could still have kids and I still can maintain the house. I could do it all. And so it was very much of being accustomed to that, and I was just trying to not continue that cycle with my children. So here at my house, I have all of us helping each other. And a lot of the times my daughters will be like, "Hey, well, why can't he help? My youngest is a boy." And I'm like, "You're right. Let's have him clean with us." And so that's how I am breaking the cycle for my family.
That sounds amazing. Okay. And let me ask you, so you're breaking the cycle. How old are your children right now?
I have a 14-year-old, I have a 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And you do things when you become a parent, you do things differently with, I think, a little more intention
Mhm.
for your children. Do you do that? Do you find that that's part of what you do?
Yes, I also want them to see it as like a reward. Like, hey, we want to just chill and be on our devices for a minute. Okay, then let's clean. Let's have the place beautiful. And then we could relax and do whatever we want. That's what I always tell them.
Mm. Yeah. Well, at least you give him an opportunity. Cause I remember when I was little, it was like, you cannot go out and play until you clean the bathroom, or you cannot go out and play until you dust the furniture, or you cannot go out. And it was like, okay. And it was like, for me, it was like an exchange. I paid and then I got my, my reward. I paid and I got my reward. Right. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work for everybody. For me, it was fine, but other people or other personalities want to know why. Why do I have to do that first?
Mm,
And and then it just that's just a personality thing, right? I'm like okay, I'm more of a doer, right? A doer. I know that if I do this, I get that. If I do this, I get that. But some people are not like that. Tell me why I'm doing something. Sometimes, it's just so weird. But okay,
yeah.
so let's talk about your therapy. You said in your description that you use therapy along with resilience, right? Therapy played a huge role in your healing, but for many in our Latina community, in our culture, right, there's still a stigma around seeking mental health support. So what do you say to the women who may be listening or reading your story now and who would say, no, I can't go to therapy because that's a sign of weakness or whatever it is, right? Or, if you go to therapy, you never get out of therapy. What would you say to that mujer who needs to hear words from you?
I would say that it takes a lot of courage to want to be able to help yourself because a lot of people could tell you, hey, I recommend for you to go to therapy. And it's easy to say that, but I believe that it actually does help you heal your inner child when you go back all the way to your childhood and start working from there on up. Because a lot of the traits that we have now as adults are from experiences or traumas that we have lived when we were children. So, with that being said, I definitely do recommend therapy because it's not just for the broken. It's like if you're going through any situation, you can get help and you're speaking to somebody that has unbiased opinions and can give you some recommendations, which it's up to you to take. And that's about it.
Right. And did you get any flack from any of your family members for going to therapy? Did you share?
I did. I unfortunately at that time I was married and I was grieving a coworker. She had cancer and and
Take your
at that
time.
time I was going through like postpartum depression, but I didn't know it. And it was very hard. Even though I wasn't very close to that coworker, but I would still like spend lunches with her. And the way we connected was that during that lunch hour, I would ask her about how her chemotherapies were going, and then she would ask me about my Friends show because it was the first time that I was watching Friends on Netflix. And so she had already seen it, and she was, like, keeping up on what episode I was on, and so it was very heartbreaking when she just didn't show up. And then that's when the word spread, um, that she had passed. So thankfully, her family did invite our department, and we were able to go to her viewing. And that day, I had a primary care appointment, like a well woman's checkup, and it was a new doctor I had just switched over to from insurances. Um, I was driving away from the chapel, from the church, and I was, like, sobbing. I was sobbing. I couldn't stop, and I didn't understand why I was crying. Like, obviously, it hurt, but I was, like, so confused as to why I was grieving because we weren't really that close. Um, and so I arrive at the doctor's office, and she asks, like, "What's wrong? Like, did something happen between the time you arrived and I saw you?" And I'm like, "No, I just came back from a coworker's, viewing, and I can't stop crying." And she's like, "Well, have you thought of therapy?" And I'm like, "No, I don't even know what that is." So she recommended I start, and I asked if it was expensive, of course. And she recommended me to go to Chapman University. um, I think it's called the Francis Smith Center in Orange, California, and that's where undergrad students that are studying psychology give those services of family and individual therapy sessions. Um, and so I said yes, and then that's when I started going to therapy.
Wow. Wow. Yes. And, the postpartum, I don't know, but, you know, you're very young in comparison to my years on this. But when I had my first child, which was over 36 years ago, I also had, postpartum depression, but I didn't know it. And mine showed up in a way that I kept crying and I didn't, and every time I stepped near the door, I would start to shake. So I would
Hmm.
just go back in. I couldn't leave. And, I was just so deathly afraid of leaving my newborn. And I kept having dreams that somebody was going to come and steal him from the crib. And, it was, and, I didn't know back then that it was postpartum depression. It lasted for about, I want to say it lasted for about 2 to 3 months. And back in the day, my mom would just yell at me and say, "Come on, get out of bed. Come on, pick up the baby. Come on, do this. Come on, do that." And it was like, dang. And I was like, oh, no one told me it was going to be so hard after the baby. And then all of a sudden it just went away, right? I never got anything. But yeah, the statistic on postpartum depression, which I had no idea, which I think is really crazy, is 1 in every 2 women have it that don't know they have it. 1 in 2 women. I was like, whoa. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. So thank
I
you. Go
I
ahead.
did want to add that I also, with the 3 pregnancies, I didn't know I had postpartum depression until my last one, which is when I started therapy. And with the first 2 pregnancies, my first one, she was a preterm labor, or preterm labor, and she was born very early, so she was taken to the NICU, and it was like separation anxiety at that time. Again, I didn't know all these terms and all the words to what I was feeling. And so, again, it was the constant crying every single day. And I'm like, I should be happy. I should be happy. I have my baby. I don't know. And I didn't know how to manage it. And like you say, from one day to another, just went away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just so unusual. But thank you for for that. Let me ask you another question. You have carried so much, and in your book, so I highly recommend that if you guys are listening to this podcast, that you check it out. Her book is on Amazon in English and in Spanish, so please check it out. But let me ask you this, Lisa: you've carried so much childhood trauma, teenage pregnancy, postpartum depression, domestic violence. Was there ever a moment where you truly didn't think you'd make it through? And what pulled you forward?
Yes, there was a moment. I think my worst moment was when, after I had my third child, within that time period before I started therapy, I felt like a zombie. I felt like a zombie because I was being a mom, I was being responsible, but I was not caring at all for myself. And during that time, I just felt like a repeating cycle, and I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. But never in my mind did it cross for me to end my life, because then I thought about my children. I'm like, who are they going to stay with? I'm the one that wants to be there to watch them through all of their milestones and everything. So, yes, that there was a time where I did believe and I did think that I couldn't go on, but again, my children are the ones that pulled me out of those negative thoughts.
Awesome, awesome. Yes. So, your kids, they give you a reason to live. So often you have children and you realize, wait a minute, this life is not just for me, but it's what I'm going to create to leave for them, right? So that's so important. And thank you, for being so vulnerable. These things that you're sharing are, touch to the heart, but are so vulnerable. And I think in this day and age, one of the things that we don't appreciate is the vulnerabilities of everybody. We want everybody to be resilient. We want everybody to be strong. We want to see, you know, the strength. Don't show me the weakness, because and I honestly believe that people are just afraid to see it, because then they look in the mirror and go, wait a minute, I'm afraid of that too. And sometimes, coming to what I call the Jesus moment in your own life and in your own, psyche, right? It's like, oh, okay, I identify with that. It's like I always say, I resemble that remark instead of I resent that remark. I always say I resemble that remark, right? Okay,
Yes.
so from your book, in the reading of your book, you went through and you talk about all of these things. Um, your message was, at least it seemed to me, if I can do it, anyone can, and that's a universal message that we all kind of. I mean, if I can do it, so can you, right? Type of thing. But let's talk to the woman that's on the other side of this interview, the one that's listening to us, the one that's going to watch a little bit of it and say, that's not for me. But then it's going to sit with her and then she'll come back and listen. So, for the woman that is listening right now who feels stuck, who feels ashamed, who feels like she can never share her most darkest, deepest secrets. And those usually come from feeling like we're out of control, right? But what would you say to her? Because she needs to hear something from you today. So, what would you say to her?
I would say that I have also felt alone. I've also felt sad scared and tired and invisible. I have felt all of that as well, but even speaking to one person will help you take that stress out or that venting out, and it will lift it off your shoulders. Because it happens to when, hey, I'm feeling sad, and you just keep it to yourself. What does it do? You just bottle it up. For me, my stress stays in my back. So when my back is hurting, I know something is not going good and I'm stressed. I'm overstressing. And so to this day, I still am in therapy and I have weekly sessions. And the first thing that my therapist asks is, how was your week? And I rant about my whole week. And guess what? After my therapy session, I'm like, okay, let's go to work. So I definitely recommend you go to therapy. You will be able to release all of your feelings and they'll help you learn all of the names to your emotions and give you feedback on how you can better yourself. And it's, again, all to make yourself better.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about just a few minutes to talk a little bit about the writing process. Tell me a little bit about what was going through your mind. You started. How long did it take to finish the book? And were there things in there that was like, yeah, I'll write about it, but and then you decided not to write about it. So tell me about the writing process now.
Yes, okay. The writing process was a little new to me. Um, Before the book club, I did not like to read at all. So, I mean, now being an author is like, whoa, that's crazy. Um, I'm thinking back to like elementary days when they would give you the reading log and I would lie that I read and be like, yeah, I read. But now I actually am in the world. I'm like, what romance thrillers and self-help books? And I'm like, oh my gosh. But writing my book was me remembering and unblocking all those memories of what happened from my childhood to my teen years to my young adult life and then till now. And so it was, I feel like the hardest part to write was my teen years,
Mm.
um, because of that era in life where I was a teen mom. And in high school, the teen pregnancy era was not great. And it was just hard remembering all of these memories that I had like blocked in because even in therapy, I hadn't really worked on that part of my life. And so when I started writing the book was when I actually started working on that part of my life.
Mm. And in the writing process, how, I guess it's a twofold question. In the writing process, as you were writing and you were uncovering all those, moments in your life that were uncomfortable, if not, kind of ugly, when you were writing that, was there any, like, did it bring up any fear that maybe that might happen to your children, or how are you going to protect your children? Was there a transference of your identity to them in that moment?
Like when I was reading the book Harvesting Dreams, I would finish a chapter and they would want me to read it. So by the time that I was done writing my book, they had already heard it all,
Okay.
and they were curious about some of the things I wrote in the book, and they had questions, and I responded all of it with transparency because I didn't want them to get information from other people. So, I mean, I try to be as transparent as I can so that they, again, see my mistakes or why I chose the decisions. Because, I mean, I was a teen, I didn't make the best decisions, so now they know, and they could from there decide what way they want to go.
That's amazing. So, how has writing this book changed the way that you parent?
Okay, I think in one of my last chapters, I write about getting my pink back. Do you know what that is?
Getting your pink back? Explain
Yes.
it for somebody that doesn't know what it is.
Flamingos. Flamingo moms, when they have their babies, they give all their nutrients to their chicklings, I think is what they're called. And so then they lose all of their pink color. And guess who's pink? Their children, their babies. And so for the longest time, until the mom starts getting her own nutrients, where the baby can now find their own, is when she starts getting her pink back. So that is where that reference comes from. And I honestly feel like I was in mom mode for like 12 years. And I think I finally started getting my pink back when I joined book club and I started doing things for me.
Mm-hmm. That
And
I love the way you put that. You're a pink back, which brings me to to another little question. Your book, the title of your book is Silent Lotus, by you, and the subtitle is A Bloom No One Saw Coming. Explain the title and the subtitle for me.
yes, so I had this experience in high school with the school counselor when I was pregnant. She pulled me into her office, but before that, I had never ever gotten in trouble. I always had amazing grades. And when she pulled me into her office, I didn't even know what a counselor was.
Mm.
So she pulls me in, and I thought I was speaking to the principal, so I was confused. But she pulls me in and she sits me down and she's like, "You're not going to graduate high school." And I'm like, "What?" I was so confused and I'm like, I don't understand. My grades are good and I haven't missed school at all." Um, and she's like, "Yeah, but you're pregnant."
That sounds
And you're
like
just
when I went to school. Oh, God.
and she's like, "You're just going to be another statistic." I'm like, "Okay." And I remember actively looking around to see if anybody else was hearing what she was telling me because I truly was shocked. I didn't understand what was going on. So then I felt so angry inside, but again, I'm a child and they're my peers, so I didn't respond, but I said, "Okay." So I walked up and she's like, "Okay, you're good to go. Go back to class." Okay. As soon as I walked out the door, I got so mad, and when I get mad, I cry. And it's not because of weakness, but it's the anger that I built. And so I was crying, but because I was so upset. But that anger fueled me to to continue and to maintain my grades. So when I went out on leave because I had a high risk pregnancy, I was still doing my work. I was having it delivered at the hospital and I was still turning in my work on time. So when I got back, I think there was like 2 classes where I did fall behind on, and once I got up there, I was able to graduate. And so when I was walking the stage, I was like, I did graduate. That anger fueled me to continue. That motivated me. I forgot what the question was.
That's okay. It's okay. It's just basically about yourself. So no worries. We're just gonna, we're just gonna move on if that's okay. But it sounds like your counselor and my counselor went to the same counseling school.
Hmm.
Because but that surprises me. I don't know if you know this, but I am a retired school principal, and I had worked for the Department of Education here in California. What I know is that the counselors are not supposed to be so matter of factly, oh, you're not going to graduate, right? But I was told the same thing. Mind you, I was an honor student by the time I was in 11th grade. I finished my 11th grade year. I had one course left, which was one semester of government, right? And so, I got called in, and they said, and I said, can I just take, that one class and then go home? They're going like, no, you cannot do that, right? Because you're not even 18, and this and that. And the counselor looks at me and he says, oh, and then by the way, you need to change your major. And I go, my major? What are you talking about? And he says, oh, well, I saw here that you wanted to go to college. Well, you're Latina, and Latinas don't go to college. The most you can aspire to be is an executive secretary. My husband, who was older than me, had gone through the same, counselor. And my husband, who is a CFO right now, he was told that the only thing that he could aspire to be was a mechanic. So yes, so I think they went to the same school, right? Oh God. Yeah, it's like it's so crazy. It's like you would have thought that I would not hear that from you. I didn't expect to hear that you had that experience as well. So, but okay, so talk to me about the Silent Lotus. So that's where we went. Why did you name your book The Silent Lotus, and what was the part that made you then do the subtitle "A Bloom No One Saw Coming"? That's what the question was.
Oh, that's right. So I chose the lotus flower because like the lotus flower grows in murky waters, and I felt like for the longest time that's how I viewed my life before therapy. And once I got into therapy and I started working on that, I felt like I began to bloom.
Ah.
I began to bloom, and so now I'm a beautiful, pretty pink lotus flower. But yes, it was very rough. It was very rough, and the subtitle was because, like the counselor, maybe a lot of people didn't really believe in me as a teen mom. And so being a Spanish speaker, going to kindergarten, and yeah, I feel like a lot of people maybe didn't believe in me, or like many other Latinas. We had a lot of people doubting us. And so, I mean, here we are. We're the big lotuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for reminding me about that. Yes. So, thank you so much for being on here. You have an amazing story. And if you guys are out there listening to her, I want you to remember to subscribe and hit that bell so that you never miss an episode of the Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. And here's what it means. Everybody goes, well, what does it mean? It means woman of success without limits, which is Lisette, I mean, she is the epitome of what this stands for, the Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. She has shown resilience. She has shown, sabiduría. She has, just that drive to continue to make her life better, which is really, really important. And so she will drop the link to her books, both in English and in Spanish, in the show notes. And if you're watching me on the Coach MartiAngel YouTube channel, you'll find it in the description below. But Lisette, thank you. Gracias por estar aquí. You have, really, really opened my eyes in your explanation of the silent lotus. And, I'm sorry you went through everything, but man, you are a hot ticket right now. So so I expect lots of good things for you are coming your way. And thank you so much for being on the Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. And for you, my listeners, if you know somebody who I should have on the show, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and then drop me a comment and let me know who you think I should have on the show. But Lisette, gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much. Everybody, hold up your book one more time, mija, so that everybody can see when they go. It's on Amazon, so make sure you get it. Silent Lotus by Lizette Ramirez, a bloom no one saw coming. Gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much, everybody, my listeners and watchers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.